That's filters. It should be no filter.
No.
Cancel. Yeah. Let's hit the check mark. Now, should be. I think it's that check mark there. How do we flip the screen around?
That's what I was trying to do. I'm not
I think we're actually live streaming us. You see
Yeah,
that?
sorry, guys.
That's
That's
going to
gonna
stop the
close
live
it.
stream. Yeah. I don't know. We can't make that go away. There we
and
go.
Then I think it's that one right there. Yes,
There we go.
We got it.
Sorry about that, everybody. Fat fingered the wrong button. But anyways, welcome to my live training this morning. We're going to start in here today. How's that? So we're starting in here today. This is Madamn. I'm going to start with saddling her up. We're going to talk about some things that she's doing in here. She is a 3-year-old quarter horse. I've done a video or two on her. I haven't done many. And she's just young. We're going to talk about some of the behavior she's doing in here, and then we'll go out there and ride and talk about some of that. And we'll get her brushed a little bit. She loves to play in the dirt. Nothing more fun than a Palomino that likes to play in the dirt. See, one thing about having a light-colored horse that likes to play in the dirt is they end up very good about bass. And she's got some red clay on her. We're going to have to get washed off because it'll stain. We had dirt delivered. If you probably saw in one of my other videos, we had dirt delivered from my covered arena, and we started moving it into the covered arena. And she was turned out where one of the piles of dirt was last night. So she rolled and played in it. So as I'm brushing her, you see her turning her face around and kind of sniffing at me. I don't know if she was hand-fed treats before or just petted a lot. She's not really trying to bite me. She has not tried to bite me. She's just very in my space. So I'm not really going to do anything other than push her face away, let her know I don't want it. We'll get her brushed. And now we're going to do her feet next. I'm going to grab my hoof pick. She can be a little funny about her back feet. I'll talk about that when I get to them. She's usually really good with her front feet. You noticed I ran my hand down slow, gave her a chance to pick them up. Now we'll put it back down. Now with her back feet, she worries about being off balance. So when I pick her feet up, I'm going to pick it straight up. I'm going to stay close, and I'm going to take it back. Still going in and out? All right, we'll try that. And I'm going to take a step back and try to give her some confidence that I'm not going to pull her off balance. Set it on my knee so that it's stable, that she doesn't feel wobbly. I grabbed it down low, and then we'll put it back down. She worries if it's kind of out in space. She worries. She'll pull it back. And if you pick it up out here, she'll pull it back. Just because you're pulling her off balance. She doesn't want to be bad. But if you're pulling her off balance and you're making it hard for her, she's going to do some things that makes it seem like she don't want her feet picked out. But it's not really that. She just worries about being pulled off balance. Pick this one up, grab it low, set it on my leg, give it some stability, pick it out and put it down. Simple as that. Keep it simple. Be aware of where you are when you're doing your horse's feet. A horse like her, she's young, and usually when she's trying to pull her foot back, she's not really trying to be bad. She just isn't steady, isn't comfortable. Do I have any questions about picking feet? Anybody out there have any particular problems with the horse's feet? I've done a video specifically on that.
You have one Aston Cyclops. Have you ever had to change a bit while you're
Training?
training?
I don't know that I have ever, during a ride, gotten off and gotten a different bit. I do swap bits pretty regular from one ride to the next, and but that could be reasonably possible. If I'm expecting a horse to step up to a next bit maybe, and I get on and it's just not working, I possibly would get off and change bits. I'm not dead set on this horse has to be ridden in this bit on this day. Different bits work different things, so I try to work those things on that day. Good question.
And do you have a particular your brand in your hoof?
The brand of my hoof pick, I believe I won those hoof picks somewhere. So I don't know what brand they are. I don't have a particular brand. It don't really matter. I do keep this Case Horseman's knife on my belt that has a hoof pick on it. It's a Case. Really like that. I always have it on me in case I need to cut something with the knife part. And occasionally, if something's off when I get on, if the horse seems off or odd, I will get off and check the foot. So that I always have on me. That's a Case Horseman's knife. A lot of the grooming stuff that we use here, the brushes, the curries, the hoof picks, it's kind of communal stuff that we all use to saddle, and some of my students use it. So a lot of times it comes and goes and disappears and comes back, and I'm not real particular about any brand like that. In general, I'm not a very brand particular person. There are certain things a few things that I prefer certain brands, but generally there's not generally that many. I'm more a function type person than a brand person. A lot of the stuff, just in general, is made by one or two companies, and then different brands put their names on them. You can get something that has a different brand, but it's actually the same thing. So I put this is my rope and saddle. This is made by Jack Foster. This is made by a local saddle maker here in Mississippi. An elderly gentleman, I don't think he's making saddles anymore. I have two of these. They have different trees made different, and then I have a DC cow horse made different. So I usually use whatever saddle that fits the horse for what I'm doing. And this particular saddle fits her really good. This is the saddle that we put on Bob when we're ponying another horse, because it's a real stout built saddle. This is usually the saddle that we start all the colts in. Usually if you see Robert on a horse, he's in this saddle normally. Being that it's just a strong, well-built saddle, we put it on all the young ones. So I got the saddle tight enough it's not going to fall off. I don't tie mine in a knot up here. I don't tie my girth strap in a knot. I buckle it in a hole. And really the only reason is if I tie a knot right here, it rubs the inside of my knee. That's what I prefer. If I buckle it in a hole like a belt down here, it's smoother up here for my knee. It's just what I prefer. I don't know that one is better than the other. That's just what I prefer. So I'm going to grab a bit for her, and then we'll take her out and get on her and get started. Huh.
It's not messing up your sound yet. The cleaner where I sprayed it.
Okay. So, as you see, as I'm saddling her up here, she's kind of fidgety, but I didn't really do anything about it. In general, I'm not going to fuss at a horse here. If you don't want this to be a bad place to be, horse to be. So in general, a lot of this, the stuff that she's doing like that with her mouth right there and being a little bit fidgety and turning her head, that's just young horse stuff. And it's kind of like telling a 7-year-old child to quit acting like a 7-year-old child. A lot of that kind of stuff, that's just her age. She's going to grow out of it. Part of the learning experience. I'm not going to make something out of that. Not going to let her get bad habits like pawing and being impatient or nipping or anything like that. That's what I would address. But just acting like her age, I'm not going to fuss at her for it. I expect her to act her age. That's part of it. Kind of like raising a child and expecting your 7-year-old to act like a 20-year-old. It's not going to work. So I just dropped the halter off of her nose just so that in the title I still have something to hold her with. Now I'm going to put it up between her teeth. I don't like to stick my finger in their mouth. I'll put it up between the teeth and I'll just kind of move it just a little bit. And just encourage her to open her mouth. If you start sticking your finger in there, you pretty much always will have to do that. But if you teach them to open their mouth when the bit comes to them, they're going to learn to open their mouth and it's not going to be a problem. So I just put the bit up to where her teeth meet. Move it just a little bit. I'm not pushing hard. I'm not trying to jam it in her mouth. Just move it a little bit. Encourage her to open her mouth. And then with time, she'll just open her mouth when the bit comes to her. Wait for me.
Somebody asked, they thought you always bridle first.
When I'm outside working a really green horse, I bridle first. And I do that to kind of spread their attention span around a little bit so that when they're green and they don't worry as much about the saddle. If I put the bridle, it went out again? Okay, I'm sorry for the sound. I'm not sure what that's going on there. But when I'm in here, I bridle last like normal with other people, like most people do. You can't put here and have them tied and then put the saddle on. That don't work. Where's your cleaner?
The cleaner's in your office. The air in there. That other mic is ready to go. And
let's see if we can help the sound a little bit. Where's the other mic at?
The case in the big part. The case. And there's battery in it.
Okay. So, we'll change my microphone and see if we make the sound better. I guess she wants to learn that. Okay. Come on. Can you hear me? All right. She's ready to go do something.
Am I going to thank Ty Cox because he said about the white button?
About what?
Ty Cox.
Oh, thanks, Ty. Thanks for asking everybody to hit the like button. I appreciate that. I don't ever think about that. Thank you. Don't run into the thing. So we are obviously the electronics saw ourselves on the TV. Obviously, all this electronic stuff is new to us. We figure that out and work with it as we go. and we basically just video what we do. We got dirt delivered. One of the videos I did, you can see the dump truck delivering it. I don't know if that video is out or not. But we've been working on dragging it in here, but we're not done. Worked on it yesterday and ran out of time. So as you saw, I walked out here. I'm never in a big hurry to get on. I want to tighten my saddle a little bit at a time, and I want to just kind of lead her a little bit, get her attention on me. She's young. She's a 3-year-old. She has a fair amount of riding on her. I don't think she'd buck or do anything like that. But as you see, her attention is just all over the place. So I leading her around. I'm giving her a chance to get her attention on me. Now, like I've talked about in some other videos, I'm always going to start by walking some circles. Saddle, that should be tight enough. I'm always, when I get on, the first thing I'm going to do is walk circles. I usually go to the left first, just because I always have the left rein shorter when I get on. I'm not, if it's a horse that I think might buck, that should save me from the bucking, but that's not really what I'm after with a horse like this, or an older horse. What I'm after is to get her attention on me. So if she's looking, there's horses out in the big arena, some people riding. So I want to get her attention on me. She's looking at them other horses. I know the steps there. She's got to walk around, and I'm not worried about that. Let's get some forward in a circle. You saw when I first got on, she was looking out there. It's part of being a young horse. And nope, over here. Let's go forward. And with an older horse, that's going to be part of their warm-up. Let's walk. Let's walk a circle to the right. Get her attention on me. I'm not going to fuss at her for her attention being over there. Again, that's like fussing at her for being a kid. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give her something to do. So I'm turning her head, put a little leg on, saying let's walk forward. Walk forward. Let's go back to the left. Walk forward. This is Madamn. If you're just tuning in, I've done a video or two of her. And she's a 3-year-old. Got a couple of months of riding under her. Pretty well broke horse. She's just a young horse. She's a 3-year-old. Not really trying to push her hard. We're just trying to get some steering, some handle, get her started on cows, start her on some trail obstacles, start her on some leg yields, some moving her body over. That's what I plan on working on today. That's just a plain, smooth mouth D-ring snaffle that I have on her. Now, as you see, we're kind of walking around in our circle. We're going to kind of stay in this middle, drier part. I'm giving her a little bit more slack rein. I'm just kind of touching her once in a while with my legs, with my spur also if I need to. She knows how to move off of my leg. It's not as solid as I would like it to be. And that's what we're going to be working on, making it a little bit more solid. Let's change directions again. When I changed directions, if you noticed, I shifted my body that direction. Let's go to the left. I'm going to shift my body. I'm moving my hips left and right an inch, maybe an inch and a half, to help me ride that direction. I'm not going to lean into that way, but I'm going to sit either just to the left or just to the right when I'm going that direction. If I'm going straight, I'm going to sit more in the center. What that does, that helps me to open my inside leg. Let's go forward. And put a little more contact with my outside leg. I'm going to ride that direction with my body. So let me know where y'all are watching from. The last live training I did, I had people from all over the world. I really appreciate everybody watching. So as you see, I'm walking around. We're getting more forward. Now I'm going to start with some inside leg. be left rein, left leg, asking her to kind of yield her body out. I'm going to push right behind the girth, ask for a step to the right and forward. Gave me a little bit of a step, but she also stopped her forward. I want to have her leg yield over, but also maintain her forward. Let's ask again. Left leg, left leg. There we go. That was better. Now, it helps to get my point across. It helps her to understand what I'm doing. If I push with my leg at the same time that inside foot is coming up off the ground, because I'm wanting her to go that way. If I push when this foot's coming off the ground, she'll set it down that way. So push, there, and release. If I want 2 steps or I want 3 steps, I'm not going to hold that same amount of pressure for the whole duration of whatever steps I'm getting. I'll push, get soft, push, get soft, push, get soft. Vary that pressure. I don't have to take the pressure completely off, but I'm going to vary the amount of pressure to let her, to show her so she understands that yes, that was the right thing to do, but I want another step. Real important there. That's where a lot of people mess up. They teach the horse the first step, how to step over, or the hind end, whichever one. They teach that first step, and they say, okay, we want 2 steps, and they hold that contact the whole time. And then they have a problem because the horse is like, well, I just took the step you asked for, and now you're still pushing. You must want something else. So I see we got a few. I have the stream up on my TV here, but it runs a little bit behind actual. Georgia, thanks for watching, Beth. And Delaware and Van Cleve. All right, thanks everybody for watching. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, put it in the comments below. Have you seen any questions come up I need to address, Melinda? So we're gonna eventually work out a better way to do these questions, but right now we're doing the best we can.
It says, are you looking for something in particular with her before you change direction? Are you asking her for something alternative before you change?
Okay, am I looking for something in particular before I change directions? I'm going to try to repeat the question. If I don't, somebody remind me. Am I looking for something before I change directions? Yes, I am looking for effort. If I'm stepping to the right with my left leg, and she does it once, twice, 3 times, however many times, keep walking. Let's walk. And I get effort. Come on. Come on. And I get effort. I'm going to go the other way. I'm not going to keep drilling on that side. I want her to know that she did good, and let's move on to something else. It's really hard as a trainer and a rider in general. Your horse does something good, and it feels good, and you like it, and you're excited, and you want to keep doing it. Like, yeah, this is good. Let's do it again. Left flag. There we go. And a lot of people just keep doing it over and over, and the horse is like, well, I keep doing this, but he keeps asking me. So once the horse seems like it understands, go the other way. Ask for something else, move on. You can always come back to it. And you saw right then I came back to it, and it was better than it was when I asked the first time. It was better because I didn't keep dwelling on it. What was the other question, Melinda? Am I asking for something while turning before I change directions? Basically, when I'm changing directions, I'm using the same cues that I use for my leg yield. So right here, I just asked for leg yield to the right off my left leg. Now, when I change directions, I will use my right rein, my right leg to go the other way. And then we'll turn and go the other way. That's how that cue starts to build into my neck rein, my steering, And if you continue that further into a spin, it's the exact same maneuver. So I'm asking, when I'm changing directions, I'm using this exact cue. This cue, right rein, right leg, right there, is how we learn to turn left. It's just like driving your truck. Her motor is in the back, her steering is in the front. I can point her nose to help her think about going a certain direction, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's going to go that direction. If you've ever had a horse run off with you, you know what I'm talking about. A horse can run off with you while not looking in the direction they're going. So I want control over the front shoulders, which is where my steering is. There we go. So if my steering is in the shoulders, and I'm going to steer the shoulders with my outside rein, outside leg. That's how I steer the shoulders. Now my inside hand controls bend, how much the horse is looking that way. That controls the horse thinking this way. But we can think about this way and go the other way. Let's go forward. There we go. And that's when your cues, your steering cues, really get good, because the horse is thinking about what I'm asking it, not just following its nose that way. If I point the nose that way and I just say go, I do want to follow the nose, but I want to steer here. That's how you get really nice steering. That maneuver right there builds into everything. This maneuver, that's the first step for setting up my lead changes, my lope departures, side pass, leg yield. I use that actually even schooling my stops, my backups, everything. Every maneuver this horse will ever learn builds from that leg yield maneuver. That is the most important part, the most important maneuver a horse could learn. That right there. So now we've worked, she's nice left, she's nice right. Let's work the back up just a little bit. That's the other maneuver that every horse needs to learn. Get over here so the mounting block's not in the way. Now I'm gonna, good girl. I didn't pull on her to stop. Might have made a little contact, but it wasn't much. But my body quit riding, and that's where that stop came from. She's already knows to quit riding, to stop when I quit riding. So I'm gonna take my hands. I'm not gonna pull back hard for the backup. If I pull back hard, her brain can't think. She's just gonna lean back into it, and it's not gonna go well. All my hands are gonna do is put enough pressure to say, don't go forward. What I wanna do is squeeze with my legs. It's gonna lift her back up. Think about this, is it a trapezoid? Her shoulder angle, top line, bottom line. Think about that trapezoid. If I pick up the middle, that's gonna pull these 2 points together. If I have the reins saying, don't go forward, this point right here is closer together than those points down there. She's gonna do something to set her weight back comfortable, which is gonna be to step back. If you hold your arms up over your head and somebody tickles you in the stomach, you're gonna pull your arms down. Same concept right here. Good girl. I gotta step back. Couple steps after I release the pressure even. That's all that is. I'm lifting her stomach up. I'm shortening this distance. She steps back. This is where my collection is going to build from. Shortening that, getting roundness is how you get collection going forwards, which we have been working on that. Now let's go forward again. We've been working on that, but I really don't have enough room in here to work on it in here during this video. If I ask her to back up and I'm not pulling and I'm lifting her back, that's going to encourage her to relax her neck, break it to pole, bring her chin in and back correctly with her hip underneath her and her front feet stepping. Any questions I need to answer? Are the leg cues taught, or are they used because they are instinctive to the horse? They have to be taught. The horse doesn't instinctively know what to do with the leg cues, but there's some, I would say, common sense to me. I don't know if it's common sense to the horse. If I want to go that way, both my legs are going to go that way. The horse learns to stay underneath between my legs, between the pressure. I'm not going to push here to push into the pressure. I want to go that way, both legs go that way, horse stays under the pressure. And so it's similar with my hands. I point her nose that way, horse goes that way. All part of, let's go forward, not backwards. All part of staying beneath the pressure, given to the pressure. So it's not instinctive to the horse. The horse isn't born knowing that it all has to be taught, but it has some logical sense to it that I think makes it a little easier for the horse to understand. Kind of like if you walk up to the horse, your space bubble is here and you're on the ground and you shoo it away with a flag or a whip or whatever, or just waving your hands, the horse is going to move away from that. Well, it's the same way here with my leg pressure. I'm putting leg pressure on. It's kind of like saying shoo, move away, moves away from the pressure. Same concept. It's the same way as like horses interacting on the ground. One of them pins its ears, makes the other one move. I can't pin my ears. She can't understand that, but I can add pressure in another way that she can understand. So I guess it's a little bit of both. So this arena, the cover is 60 by 80, and the ends, I have the two ends brought out. So the lengthwise is probably 60 by 95, maybe close to, yeah, maybe 100, something like that. My outdoor arena out there, when you see me riding out there in the videos, it's 125 by 250. Well, I don't have good enough internet signal for us to do lives out there. Maybe one day I'd like to put a wireless box out here someplace, a wireless router, so maybe we can do that one day. But we had company, it's called Carolina Carports, come put this arena in. We had to put the concrete footings in on both sides, and they came and put it in. And it took them like 3 days to install the whole thing. Wasn't bad at all. And then I put the plywood up on both sides. The plywood is more for working cows than it is the horses. I don't try to keep the horses really attention in here. You've seen where I'll put stuff in here to distract them, and I don't worry about distractions out for the horses. I want them to do what I'm asking them to do, no matter what the distractions are. But the plywood is up for the cows because I want the cows to focus on the horse that's working on. So it's more for the cow work. Out in my big arena, it's just wide open. So let's talk about some, we move the shoulders. Let's move the hip. Left leg, I'm gonna slide it back. There's 3 positions on each side. The middle position, basically where my legs just hang, is for roundness and collection. Just in front of that, right behind the front girth, important behind, not in front. In front is actually considered a major penalty with most show associations. Right behind the girth, moves the shoulders. Right behind the middle section, which is about where my back girth would be if I had it, is where my hip cue would be. And I get a lot of questions about why do I not ride with a back girth? And this is why, after the horse understands that cue better, now she's looking for an answer. I got pressure back there. She's looking for an answer. She's trying to back up. I didn't release the pressure. When her hip goes that way, I will release the pressure. Notice I'm not pulling her head in any kind of different direction. She needs to move off this pressure, not what my hands are asking her to do. I'm pushing, I'm wiggling it a little bit. When she goes to back up, I'm tipping her nose just a little bit and release. When she backed up, I tip her nose just a little bit to let her know that's not the right answer. And then I wait for her to find the right answer. She pushed her hip over. I released the pressure. Good girl. Now, as far as like petting on her and saying, good girl, that's okay. But actually, what she understands better than that is releasing the pressure. Let's do the left side again. After a horse understands, good girl. After a horse has a good understanding about the back girth cue, then I'll put the back girth on. Most of my more finished horses, like Hank and Trigger and Mac, you'll see me ride those with a back girth. All right, what's the question?
I have a hard time knowing when my horse is lifting his back and engaging his hind end. What are the ways I can tell from my saddle that my horse is lifting his back and engaging?
Okay. The question is, I have a hard time telling when my horse is lifting his back and engaging. Well, how can I tell from the saddle when the horse does that? That's a good question. And the horse's neck and back works kind of like a seesaw, like a teeter-totter. And that's why I don't work on the face to get the face down. I work on the back. I work on the middle. When the back comes up, the neck is going to soften and drop. That is a big indication that the back is coming up. The neck's not going to come up and the back come up together. The horse can't physically do that. But if you've worked your horse working the face down, then you kind of lose that cue a little bit. I've had some horses brought to me like that, where the owner worked the reins, worked a rein cue, like bumping, to get the head down, and then you kind of lose that indication a little bit. So that's why I don't work the face, work the middle. So if you concentrate on moving the middle, moving the shoulder, doing that leg thing I just did, horse will tell you when the back comes up because the neck's going to go down. Let's walk this circle and let's ask for a leg yield and let's see what her neck does. Walking forward. Left leg. Now she's looking in the barn. I'm going to have to make another loop when her attention is on me and not on the horses in the barn. So when I do this, and she lifts her back for the leg yield, her head should go down. She's already got it pretty low. Oh, looking at the horses in the barn again. I'm not going to release just yet. I held that cue past when she actually did it because I didn't have her attention. Because I want her thinking, well, why didn't the cue get released? Let's try it again. Move over. There, see her head drop there? See her head drop? It dropped 2 times. That was her back coming up. 2 different steps. It came up and rounded. Let's see if we can do that again. That was off the right spur, right rein. Let's go to the left. So the neck, and it was pretty subtle. It wasn't much. You got to really watch. But that is your indication that the back is lifting. So no. I'd like to keep her out of that red clay. She's pushing, she's lifting, so she's bracing. Let's wait for her head to soften. I'm not going to release yet. I still have my left leg on. I put a little right leg on to actually get, there we go. I put some right leg on to get some steering, but I didn't release the left until the head went down. So that answers your question as far as how to know if the back lifts up. And that kind of leads into a lot of training where people do not want to see the head down. And they claim that that's not natural for the horse. Well, as long as you don't artificially put the head down and you're asking the horse to round its back and engage its hip, and you're leaving the neck alone to find its spot, that is natural for that horse that you're on. And that horse's conformation is going to determine how high or low the neck is. Different bloodlines, different breedings are going to want to put their head in different places. A lot of it has to do with how the neck comes out of the shoulders, the length of the top line of the neck in relation to the bottom line of the neck. That's all related. If you have a horse that the length of the bottom line of the neck is the same length as the top line of the neck, and the neck comes out of the shoulders up high, that horse is going to have his head up. That's what's natural for him. And just the opposite, if you have a horse that neck attaches pretty low, like this one does, with a long top line and a shorter bottom line, that's more what's natural and comfortable for her. Any more questions?
Yeah, someone would like to know, her husband, they're putting in an 80 by 120. Want to know if that's a good size for just me and my horse and no more.
80 by 120, it's going to be a little bit small for loping. You can get a lot of walk trot work done there, but it's going to be a little small to lope. That's going to be 120. My outside arena is 125 wide. So your length is going to be about as wide as my outside arena and less than that in width. So that's going to be a little small for loping. You can get a lot done in it, but it'll be a little small for loping.
You had another question about the rounding back. When sensing it, where does the rider feel? Is the rider in the butt?
It depends on how progressed your horse is, and how strong your horse is. Generally, it feels like your horse is rounding its back like they do right before they buck. The back lifts up. If you've ever gotten on a horse that felt like it wanted to buck and it was really round and you feel like you're sitting on top of a ball that's kind of teeter-tottering, that's where the back should be. That's where you want it. And you have to know your horse good enough to know that the horse really, now let's go forward again, that the horse really isn't trying to buck. He's just trying to round his back like he should. And it's kind of an eerie feeling to start with when you're not used to it. But once you are used to it and that's what you want to feel, you start looking for it. It takes some practice and some feel.
Would they ever become dull to the spurs?
Not if you use them correctly.
Repeat the question.
No. Does the horse ever become dull to the spurs? Not if you use them correctly. Let me silence my phone. It keeps beeping. Every time I touch her with my spurs, I'm telling her something. And you see me touch her a lot, but every time I touch her, I'm telling her something. I'm riding a step. We're saying go over to the left. We're saying go to the right. And right there, push, push, push. I'm saying go to the left. And I'm asking for a step, I'm releasing the step. I'm asking for a step, I'm releasing the step. So I do touch her a lot, but she doesn't become dull because I am communicating with her and I take the spurs off every communication. It's like having a conversation. I'm pausing enough for her to respond. Now, if I just squeeze with my spurs and just squeeze and hold on and don't do nothing, yeah, they'll become dull. But that's not riding correctly with your horse. You should be riding with your legs, riding with your body. And as they get better with responding to what your spurs are, they're unloading feed in there and she thinks she needs some. As your horse gets better to responding to that, then you're going to be using spurs less. You should be if you're doing it correctly. Any more questions? Several? We'll get to as many as we can.
How often is she needing you to use your spurs on top? It's hard to see when you're using them as opposed to just using legs.
It varies. How often am I using my spurs on her? And the answer is it varies. I might touch her every step, push, push. But it depends on what our conversation is. She's looking that way. I want her to go this way. I'm going to give her a push. Push again. Push again. Push again. And then I'm just relaxing. Ride with my body. Ride with my calf. Put a little. She wants to go that way. I want to go this way. Put a little calf on her. She didn't go. Now we're going to touch with the spur. I'm going to escalate to the spur as I need to. Ask, tell, demand. I'm not going to ride with my spur every time. I'm going to ask with my leg first. Now, I might, if I have to go to spur, I might go directly to spur next time. But the first time I ask her to go this way, that's calf. She kind of did it. She kind of blew me off. I'm going to go to spur. Hey, I want more. You always need to establish the level where your horse is. Let's say a 1 is a horse that's just broke to ride. Don't really know anything, but it broke to ride. You can kind of steer left, steer right. 10 is a horse that's finished out, show at the highest level. Well, she's somewhere around that 2 or 3. She knows what I'm asking for. I'm going to ride her at that level. I'm not going to ride her as a 10, but she's a 2 or a 3, I'm going to ask as a 4, because if I don't ask as a 4, she's not going to get there. So that's a little bit more contact than I would use with a 10, but that's less contact than what I would use with a 1, if that makes any sense. So you have to apply the amount of pressure with the aid that's needed at that time. And the variable that determines what's needed is where her attention is. So as she matures and I have her attention better, like Hank, I did a video of him out here not long ago, and I'm just sitting on him and say the word whoa, and he stops. I mean, like on a dime. But she stopped. She heard the word and kicked in and did it. So it's a matter of where that horse's attention is. It determines how hard you're going to go to your aid and how quick you go to that hardness.
Do you tie a horse to a hitching rail?
Do I tie a horse to a hitching rail? I do have a line out here that I'll tie most horses to at some point. I don't like a hitching rail. I've seen too many accidents there. I have a high line, a picket line like you would use when you're camping. I think that's a lot safer. And I do think a horse needs to learn patience. I went and rode with Clint Haverty one time, and in his covered arena, he had ropes hanging down all over his arena, rigged over to like pulleys to the wall. And he would get all his young horses out and lower the rope down and tie them out in the middle of the arena. So he's loping circles all over his arena to around these horses that are tied. And that was a great way to do it, because not only does the horse learn to be tied, but he learns to be tied with activity around him. I thought that was a great idea, but I wouldn't trust the structure of this roof to do that.
The show you recently took me to, is that a ranch horse show, QHA show, or other type horse? We are very interested in starting those here in Kentucky that don't know where to find them.
Okay, so that was a National Rein Cow Horse Association show. You can go to their website. If you Google National Rein Cow Horse Association, you'll find their website. I don't remember if it's nrcha.com or .org or exactly what it is. But you can Google National Rein Cow Horse Association, pull up their schedule, pull up their clubs. There's probably one in Kentucky. I know there's one in Tennessee. And I know there's some good trainers up there that you can make contact with. There's a trainer section on the website, and you could find a trainer close to you that you could go ride with and introduce you to that event.
You had this question last week too. How often do you harrow your arena?
How often do I harrow my arena? At least once a day, every day, and sometimes twice a day. A lot of it has to do with the moisture content. And like my big arena, I drag it every morning. If you think about the divots, what I'm looking for is a smooth base with a couple of inches of fluff sand on top. And if you have a hoof print that kind of cupped out that soft, fluffy stuff on top, and then they come back in the same track and come out again, you're going to end up with a base that has all like little divots in it. And then when you go to slide, the horse is going to catch in those divots and it's going to start hurting. He's not going to want to stop. So I want that base on the bottom to be slick smooth with a couple of inches of fluffy sand on top. That fluffy sand is going to give them the cushion. That's going to give them the traction. So I'll drag it every morning for sure, and then a lot of times I'll drag it again around lunchtime.
Okay. Jory from Andalusia, that comes to your show, she'd like to know about the cinch. Do you use an off-shoulder style?
An off-shoulder style of girth. She's asking if I use an off-shoulder style of girth. I have one in there, and I have tried it on a couple of horses, and didn't really, I didn't care for how it sat on the horse. And that was probably just the horse that I used it on. Certain horses, I'm sure that probably works great on certain horses. I generally use these mohair girths. I actually had this one custom made by my farrier's wife with brass rings on it. I generally use those. They are a little bit more work to keep clean, but as long as they're clean and taken care of, I have less sores with these than I do like the neoprene ones. Now, like Hank in there that you saw me show, for some reason, he don't like these. He likes neoprene, he likes wand pads, and that kind of neoprene bottom, that's what he likes. I wouldn't want it against my skin, but he works better in it, so that's what we use. So I don't go by always using any one thing. I'm going to use what it seems like the horse likes best. These saddle pads that you see me use, I get these at Tractor Supply. They're relatively inexpensive. I think they're like $50. I would use them a while until they're dirty, and I throw them away and I get another one. I don't believe in these $200 gel pads. As long as you have a saddle that fits good, I don't think you need that $200 pad. I'd rather a cheap pad that I can throw away and start with a clean one, because it's a lot easier to throw a $50 pad away than it's a $200 pad.
Do you ever throw out ground poles to help them focus?
Do I ever throw out ground poles to help them focus? All the time. And it's kind of a pain because I throw them out, then I got to pick them up to drag, and I throw them out. But yeah, all the time. And if you watch the videos of Sabre, I always had him in here because he was all over with his attention. And yes, definitely. That's how I get the horse to focus inward towards me. Ground poles, cones, just anything. And a lot of times I'll have all kind of junk thrown out in here. For sure, that's a really good idea.
How do I get a horse to go forward if they are standing still and the horse won't go forward?
That's going to depend. How do you get a horse to go forward that's standing still and won't go forward? That's going to depend on the horse and where that horse is in training and whether that horse knows a go cue or not. You have to know if that horse knows what you're asking for, because if the horse doesn't know your cue, you're going to handle that different than you would if a horse that does know your cue and is refusing to go forward. So I like to, when I'm ground driving, when I'm long lining, I'll use my tick to go forward. I'll tick, and if they don't go forward on the tick when I'm ground driving, I'll use a crop to let them know that that tick means forward. And then I take the same work that I did on the ground and bring that up to the saddle. And if I need to for that transition, I'll have another rider ride with me to help that horse learn the tick means go forward, the squeeze means go forward. If you teach the tick on the ground or the cluck, or whatever you want to use, and then you get in the saddle and squeeze and the horse doesn't know, but then you tick, it's like, okay, right after the squeeze, I need to go forward. So that part is a matter of teaching the horse what his go forward cue is. Now, if you have a horse that knows how to go forward and is refusing to go forward, you're going to handle that totally different. If your horse is refusing to go forward, you're going to ask, tell, and demand. Ask first, then you're going to tell, you're going to use a stronger cue, then you're going to use demand, which is whatever it takes to make that horse go forward. But that's only a horse that already knows what you're asking for and is telling you no. You're not going to do that with a horse that don't know. You're not going to use an extreme measure to make a horse go forward and don't know what you're asking for. That's just cruel. But the other part of that is you can work that on the ground also with lunging like I lunge. I'll lunge into the wall, stop, turn, go the other way. All that builds. Everything that I do, one step progresses into the next step. One step builds off of the previous step into the next step. So when you have a horse that doesn't know or doesn't want to, you have to go back to, okay, at what point can I make this happen safely, and then build back from there, fill in the holes. I see that a lot with horses that didn't really go through a complete training program. I've talked about this a little bit before. I'll take a horse like this and I can train it all the way through showing like Hank, but if a trainer that doesn't know all the steps to get there, a lot of times they leave some holes in training, and you have to go back and fill in those holes. And sometimes you just have to back up, do your groundwork or whatever to fill in that hole. But to answer your question, you have to know whether the horse doesn't know to go forward or knows what you're asking for and is refusing to go forward. That's the first step.
Okay, except for the spur, can I apply all of your techniques for English riding / dressage and all types of horse? They ride a Frisian horse, F-R-I.
Frisian, Okay, so she asked, except for the spurs, can I apply all of your techniques for dressage? And she said she rides a Frisian. You can apply everything exactly the same. I get a lot of dressage horses in here. I sent one home not too long ago, Bowie, a Palomino, and he's gone off to dressage. The cues are exactly the same, and a lot of English riders, they kind of get into a little bit of conflict with the neck rein. They call it supporting rein. It does the same thing. The only difference is we take it to a little bit more of an extreme, and I'm using that, what I call neck rein, supporting rein, to support this shoulder and steer it that way. It's exactly the same. So yes, you can take everything that I do and apply it to your dressage horse, and it all works exactly the same, converts exactly the same. I actually, if you'll look back through my videos, I have quite a few dressage horses that I have had come through here. We'll do one more question and then we're going to wind it up for today.
Do you ever teach leg pressure points on the ground or always in the saddle?
Do I ever teach leg pressure points on the ground or always in the saddle? I always go straight to teaching them from the saddle. There's not a problem. I don't really have a problem with teaching them from the ground, but if I'm teaching them from the saddle, I'm teaching them at the point that I want the horse to respond to that cue. If I'm teaching it from the ground, I might be off just a little bit. And then when I get up in the saddle, I might have to tune that a little bit because it might feel a little bit different to the horse. So I'm always going to teach it from the saddle, but as long as you teach it correctly, it's not an issue. But there's nothing wrong with teaching it from the ground. That's just not how I do it, but there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. Every trainer kind of has their own method of doing things, and it doesn't necessarily mean that one way is right and the other way is wrong. It's just what works for me. And if starting off teaching it from the ground is what works for you, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So we're going to wind it up with that question. I'm not sure how long we've been gone, but it feels like it's been a little while. She's ready to be done. She's getting tired of being out here. This is Madamn. I'll put a link up here to her playlist. And until next time, thank you for watching.